10 gift by Time Magazine and has been featured all over the world. It's whisper quiet while it works your abs and core, hip flexors, glutes, quads, hamstrings, and calves.
QB is a lifesaver for me.
Here's your answer to your problem.
I feel young again.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people moving more with QB. Call to find out how to get your QB with free shipping and a 30-day completely risk-free trial. You'll also get this QB workout mat free. Now keep fit while you sit with QB.
To order, call 800-289-5820. That's 800-289-5820. Call now.
Do you have an old car, truck, or van taking up space in your home? You can call the number below today and donate it to the United Breast Cancer Foundation to help save a life. Our qualified personnel will go to your home to pick it up completely free of charge. Donating your old truck or SUV helps pay for the programs available to women affected by breast cancer who need your help. Please help us to help others. Call now.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in tonight for Richard French on a somber anniversary. 1 year ago today, COVID was officially declared a pandemic, and the shutdowns that have now become a part of our lives ever since began kicking in. The NBA halted a game right before tip-off, then later suspended their entire season. Today is also the anniversary of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson announcing they had tested positive for COVID in Australia. What to do next, they asked. It was a question that, frankly, could have applied to all of us. The chaos and confusion of the moment reaching all the way to the stock market 1 year ago today, which plunged into a bear market, the Dow losing 1,400 points in just a single session. And that night, the President of the United States, then Donald Trump, spoke from the Oval Office.
This is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort to confront a foreign virus in modern history. I am confident that by counting and continuing to take these tough measures, we will significantly reduce the threat to our citizens, and we will ultimately and expeditiously defeat this virus.
Let's put his teleprompter reading aside for a moment. We will return to Donald Trump in a little bit as we look back on this deadly and utterly wasted year. But first, let's flash forward to today, day 50 of Joe Biden's presidency, and it's a historic day to boot.
This historic legislation is about rebuilding the backbone of this country and giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance. That's what the essence of it is.
And with that, it became official. The nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package is now law. Signed, sealed, and delivered. $1,400 checks will start to go out to millions of Americans as early as this weekend. And a couple of hours from now, the president will deliver his first primetime address since taking office. He'll speak about the package he just signed into law, as well as the deadly pandemic, and when we can expect to get back to some sense of normalcy. Then the PR push will begin. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will tour the country to tout the benefits of the relief package, and they'll start in Atlanta next week and also visit several other battleground states. Biden says he's handling things differently than President Obama did after the 2009 Recovery Act was signed into law.
Barack was so modest, he didn't want to take, as he said, a victory lap. I kept saying, tell people what we did. So we don't have time. I'm not going to take a victory lap. And we paid a price for it, ironically, for that humility.
So President Biden is going on the road to sell his plan, even though a majority of Americans say they're already buying in. The latest poll numbers show that 3 in 4 Americans support the stimulus plan. That includes 90% of Democrats and more than half of all Republicans. The ink isn't even dry on the bill, and already businesses are reacting and benefiting. American and United Airlines just canceled plans to furlough 27,000 workers.
If you have one of those WARN Act notices we sent out in February, tear it up. There aren't going to be any furloughs at American Airlines in April.
27,000 jobs saved right off the bat. We're also learning new things about it as more and more analysis comes out. Out of a total price tag approaching $2 trillion, half of the stimulus money goes directly to helping individuals and families. That includes the checks, jobless benefits, tax credits, health care provisions, and other assistance. $500 billion goes towards helping local governments, and $65 billion is going to businesses. This law will also raise the income of tens of millions of Americans. And as you can see from this chart, people who earn the least are going to benefit the most. But don't forget the people in the middle of that chart. People in the middle class are also going to see sizable bumps in their paychecks. The only folks who really won't get much help out of this stimulus deal, people in the top income brackets. The Biden administration is also selling this plan as a major anti-poverty program on top of a COVID relief package, and they're doing so for good reason. It's expected to have a huge impact on the poverty rate, reducing it nearly 30%. And if it does, that would lift 12 million Americans out of poverty this year. And for Hispanic and Black Americans, the impact on the poverty rate will be a lot more significant than that. So how does the president sell this plan to the public to make sure of its success, both in reality and also in political terms? For that, let's bring in our first guest. Paul Glasteris is a former speechwriter for President Bill Clinton. He's currently editor-in-chief of Washington Monthly magazine. Paul, today marks Joe Biden's 50th day as president. We know he's comfortable playing consoler-in-chief. We expect him to play that role again in tonight's primetime address. But with the relief bill passing, the focus has to turn to selling the package and making sure that voters know who provided all that help. How does President Biden do that?
Well, you know, he has probably one of the most wonderful collection of materials for a speech that any president has had in memory, right? It's the 1-year anniversary of Donald Trump's speech to the nation from the Oval Office, which all the press will be comparing this to. And that's frankly a pretty low bar. He's got the COVID American Relief Package legislation, $1.9 trillion. And he has, day after day, it seems, more good news about vaccine rollouts and the amounts that are available and when people can get them. So he has an amazingly hopeful story to tell. And I think this is not just a sale of the bill, although it certainly is that. This is a moment for him to take stock of where the country is with this deadly pandemic, and to try to validate how they feel, both their losses and their hope, and to be very particular in what he can tell folks about the help that's coming and the timetable of things getting better.
And all of that those are all fair points, but he does have to try to sell this bill. And since it aids individual Americans somewhat individually, you can't tour a vaccine site to sell that. You can't visit a business or a hospital. That sort of misses the point. So how does the president, what are the optics that he needs to reflect and amplify the stories of individual Americans who benefit from the bill? Like, for example, I've seen a lot of reporting today that a lot of parents had no idea that child tax credits were in that bill, or that they'd be receiving financial benefits for them.
That is what a speech like this is. And, you know, I wrote, had a hand in a couple of President Clinton's State of the Union addresses. And this is not that, but it's similar in the challenges. How do you explain sometimes complicated programs in ways that don't dumb it down, that are accurate, and that people without a lot of background in policy or in the systems of delivery can understand? So that's going to be a challenge, but you know, people pay attention to these speeches. They're interested in the information, very interested.
We know that President Biden has been leaning on lessons from the Obama administration of feeling like the Obama team undersold the stimulus and Obamacare and were penalized by voters for both. He and Vice President Harris are going on tour next week, making visits around the country to try to sell the bill. We know that Donald Trump oversold everything, taking credits for vaccine advances, even putting his name on the stimulus checks and the letters. Biden seems to be looking for something in between. So how do you take credit and remind people where that credit should go while not being seen in a Trumpian me kind of light?
I don't think there's any chance or danger of Joe Biden, having the same style as Donald Trump. When in the Clinton White House, the speechwriters had a list, literally a list of the accomplishments of the administration. We were to, use those lists, those specifics in the speeches we gave. The fellow who kept the list was right across the hall from me, and the president would want to look at the list periodically, often, once a month, and would himself go in there in his left-handed script and change the language or add things that had been forgotten. This was not just Bill Clinton bragging. This was Bill Clinton having a keen sense that what the public needs from a president who they have given power to is reports about what he's doing with the power they handed them. This is like telling your boss what you've done for this week, or reporting to a board of directors. I do think Barack Obama did not attend to that part of the presidency very well. I think the Biden folks know that. A lot of them were in the Clinton administration and noticed the difference. So this is well within what presidents normally do. And the key to not, instead of over-promising and under-delivering, I think the Biden White House has had a strategy of the opposite. They've been dampening down expectations and then beating them, right? It's called the expectations game. And so, the timetable about when things will open up, it keeps getting earlier and earlier. The amount of, when there are going to be sufficient quantities of the vaccine keeps coming closer and closer. So they're being careful with what they promise and then delivering. That's the key. You don't change the world with a speech, but a speech that is integrated with policy that works can be very, very powerful.
President Biden will not be the only one trying to claim credit for the stimulus. Roger Wicker, a Republican senator from Mississippi, tweeted out how helpful the stimulus will be for small restaurants. Small problem with that, Wicker voted against the bill. How should Democrats run against Republicans who voted no? Will those attempts to steal the credit work?
We'll see. They should try. If I were running for against a Republican who voted against this bill, I think it would be in every ad that I put up and every speech I gave. Why not? They had the chance to support the bill. They knew their voters wanted it, but they were worried that the minority of their voters who go into primaries would, would support a challenger. So they had to be more against the bill than they probably were. And that's terrible for them, I guess, but makes them vulnerable targets to attacks, and rightly so.
Finally, Paul, one of the few viable arguments I've heard from Republicans against the bill is that there's a ton in there that's not related to COVID. And Democrats during the debate pushed back on that. But now Democratic message seems to be shifting, as the Washington Post put it in a headline, from economic crisis rescue to poverty relief. It's now something of a social welfare bill. Any worries that Democrats are going to be seen as pulling a bait and switch? First it was all COVID, now COVID is just a part of it. And aren't they sort of playing into that Republican criticism?
The Republicans can always find an angle. This is a fine one. We'll see if it works. Let's be honest. Who has taken it on the chin in this pandemic the most? That's people with lower incomes, people of color. People who have to work in public, at restaurants, in warehouses, and so forth. The death toll from this virus is much higher the lower down you go. So the idea that this is merely, social welfare is a little rich. Moreover, major businesses got huge bailouts under Donald Trump. This kind of rights the scales because most of the money is not going to large corporations. It's being targeted at the communities that need the help. There are some longer-term social welfare components to it, and Republicans are welcome to go after the child care, refundable child care tax credits, and say that the average family that is going to get these benefits because raising children is expensive doesn't deserve it. They should try that.
Paul Glastris is a former speechwriter for President Bill Clinton. He is now the editor-in-chief of Washington Monthly. Paul, really appreciate the insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we begin our coverage of the anniversary of the pandemic by showing you how every living former president except one is now trying to encourage people to get vaccinated. I'll leave it to you to guess which one isn't doing his part to help.
This is a national healthcare alert from the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one has diabetes, listen closely. Now, regardless of your age, if you have insurance, you may qualify to receive diabetic testing supplies with little to no out-of-pocket cost. Get free delivery, free information, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers for free. Call the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline now for details. Toll free at this number. But wait, there's more. If you call right now, you could get a meter upgrade. In addition, we'll give you a free pair of diabetic socks as our special gift to you. Regardless of your age, if you suffer with diabetes and have insurance, you may qualify to get free delivery of your supplies. Call now. We can help.
Call 1-800-972-0451. 1-800-972-0451. That's 1-800-972-0451. Call now.
Villains, robbers, bandits, crooks, they're all over your TV screen. But the biggest thieves are behind your screen. I'm talking about the cable companies. They charge monthly subscriptions, fees, rentals, and force you to take long-term contracts. Well, it's time to say goodbye to the cable guy, because now you can watch 4K Ultra HD broadcast TV for free. Introducing Clear TV's new 4K Ultra HD design, the Premium HD. Just plug it into your TV and start watching for free. You will instantly receive top-rated network shows, local news and weather, sporting events, and even Ultra HD 4K broadcast shows, all for free. Thanks to federal government mandate, all broadcasters are required to transmit a digital TV signal through the airwaves. The new Premium Clear TV lets you bypass cable or satellite to bring network and 4K broadcast shows directly to your television. Retract the antenna to keep it small or extend them for maximum reception.
Setup was so easy. I took my Clear TV antenna, plugged it into the back of the TV, and now I can watch my favorite broadcast channels anywhere in the house for free.
We're just off the coast here in the Gulf of Mexico receiving free network broadcast HD TV. Imagine all the free shows you'll receive at home.
Basic cable and satellite services can cost you up to $80 a month. That's $960 a year and almost $10,000 over a 10-year period. Watch TV in as many rooms as you like with no additional monthly fees. Stop spending money you don't have to spend. Call or go online now and get your premium Clear TV 4K Ultra HD antenna for only $19.95. It's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Order now, and you can add a second Clear TV free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's a $40 value for only $19.95.
I can't believe I get all these channels for free. Plus 4K Ultra HD, Clear TV is for real.
As the pace of vaccinating increases in the U.S., with more than 2 million people getting the shot every day now, all living former presidents, minus one, appear in a new PSA campaign encouraging people to get inoculated.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work, and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people, and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot. Now it's up to you.
There was, of course, one former president missing from that ad. That former president not willing to spread the word. He didn't even make public the fact that both he and Melania got their shots before they left the White House. But the former president isn't staying silent, of course. He released a statement about the vaccine. Quote, I hope that everyone remembers when they're getting the COVID-19, often referred to as the China virus vaccine, that if I wasn't president, you wouldn't be getting that beautiful shot for 5 years at best, and probably wouldn't be getting it at all. I hope everyone remembers. All right, it's only fair to give him some credit for pushing so hard for the vaccine, but other countries, including the UK, beat the U.S. in getting shots into arms. So clearly this former president is just one of many who played a role. This feels like a good time to take a quick look back at the past year, and I'll finally say his name, how Donald Trump handled or mishandled things. Let's start with the worst prediction ever.
I think that's a problem that's going to go away. But when you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, you know it is going away. And it will go away, and we're going to have a great victory. It's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, it hopefully will be soon after that. I think what happens is it's going to go away. This is going to go away. It's going to go. It's going to leave. It's going to be gone. It's going to be eradicated. So this is going to go away without a vaccine. It's going to go away, and it's we're not going to see it again. It's dying out.
It's fading away. It's going to fade away.
I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear.
And yet it's still a pandemic. This wouldn't be a Trump segment without pointing out some lies and misinformation. Even though he was telling the American people there was nothing to see here, he told Bob Woodward about the dangers of COVID.
It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. You know, people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. This is more deadly. This is 5 per... You know, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. You know, so this is deadly stuff.
Trump also chose to be the front man and run the COVID briefings, and those invariably turned into rambling messes and arguments with the press, plus gems like this.
And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that, too. Sounds interesting.
Get the right folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that?
White House went into damage control mode after that, saying Trump was kidding. But check the video again. All you have to do is put your eyes on Dr. Birx's face, and she all but confirms that he was completely serious about that. Also, even though every single health expert on the planet, except for some of the quacks and conspiracy nuts that Trump listened to, have consistently said that wearing masks was essential to slow the spread, Trump continued to be Trump and say stuff like this.
If you feel more comfortable, you'll say a couple of words. You might want to take the masks off.
I can't hear you. You have your mask on. I can't hear a word.
You're going to have to take that off, please. Just, you can take it off. How many feet are you away?
I'll speak a lot louder.
Well, if you don't take it off, you're very muffled. So if you would take it off, it would be a lot easier. I just don't want to wear one myself. It's a recommendation. They recommend it. Again, I would wear one if I thought it was important.
Even after Trump himself caught a bad case of COVID and had to be rushed to Walter Reed on Marine One, he still didn't change his tune. That would have been another golden opportunity for the president to remind people of the dangers of the virus and take precautions. Instead, we got this.
I learned so much about coronavirus, and one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led. Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know.
By the way, the White House and its doctors repeatedly lied to the American people and tried to cover up how sick Trump was. While Trump was at the hospital, his medical team was giving upbeat assessments and was evasive at best. But the Times is reporting that Trump's oxygen levels were so low there was talk of putting him on a ventilator. Look, we are clearly in better position to defeat COVID and save lives today than we were just a few months ago. And it's also clear that one of the many reasons for that improved status is that Donald Trump is no longer president. On that note, coming up next, ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Jen Ashton joins us to discuss whether or not it's too soon to open things up and when we can start getting back to normal.
Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days? I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement. Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers from leading financial firm J.D. Milberg. That's right, free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we're about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. And it's free.
Call 800-258-6979.
As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched numerous products and summarized rates and benefits of annuities, all from Sentinel Security Life Insurance Company.
Call 800-258-6979. That's 800-258-6979.
Call
help when you fall and can't get help.
help.
You will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-215-6582. That's 1-800-215-6582. Call now. 1-800-215-6582.
IRS, open up. The IRS is the most feared agency in the country and has the power to seize assets, garnish wages, and even put you in jail for back taxes and unfiled tax returns. Don't be a victim. Call Kick IRS right now and let us kick those IRS problems out of your life once and for all. Our powerful team of tax experts will fight hard for you and will not stop until we've resolved your tax problems on your terms. And if you qualify, we may even reduce or eliminate your tax debt altogether. No more sleepless nights wondering when the IRS is going to come after you. Take control of your tax problems today and make the phone call. We have an A rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we offer a 100% written guarantee, so there's nothing to lose and everything to gain. The consultation is free, and the phone call is free. So pick up the phone right now and kick those IRS problems out of your life once and for all.
Call 1-800-284-0468 to get the tax help you need today. Again, that's 1-800-284-0468 or go to kickirs.net.
Pandemic, 1 year in, has claimed the lives of nearly 530,000 Americans. But the number of cases, deaths, and hospitalizations are all trending sharply downward, so we could be in the final stages of the pandemic. Maybe. But with some states like Texas fully opening and telling people they don't have to mask up, health experts are concerned that it's too soon for that and that we still have to remain vigilant. Let's bring in our next guest to discuss, ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Jen Ashton. Dr. Ashton, President Biden signed another deal yesterday to expand vaccine capacity again, another 100 million doses. And he keeps on saying every American will have access to a vaccine by the end of May. What's your sense? Would it be earlier than that with that influx of new vaccine doses we have? Is that an accurate estimate? What could delay that time frame?
Well, I think, first of all, you bring up a really good point, which is the manufacturing or the order, per se, of 100 million doses of vaccine is just one part of the puzzle. Remember, you can make 1 billion vaccines, but if you can't get them into people's arms, that's not going to help save lives and slow this pandemic. So absolutely, making the order is the first step. That's good news. But then you're talking about distributing, and then really the key is administering those vaccines. So hopefully by the spring, we'll see many more 24-hour-a-day vaccination centers. We'll see large mass sites as well as door-to-door or smaller community sites. Remember, 50% of the counties in the United States are rural, so they may not have the transportation or the time to drive several hours to get to one kind of hub, if you will. So I think there are a lot of logistics that need to be worked out, but the good news is that the pace is improving. It's improving steadily, and many more people are getting at least one dose. And one dose, to be clear, gives you a very good amount of protection, even in the 2-dose regimen. So there's a lot to be encouraged by.
All of our viewers east of the Mississippi live relatively close to a state line, and there are different rules in place for vaccine access in every state, not to mention varying degrees of how closely they check for things like comorbidities or other requirements. I've heard some experts say if you can get a shot without breaking any rules or jumping any lines, get one. It's possible, I'm guessing, right now for most adults, at least in our East Coast markets, to get one if they really, really want one, if there's a way. The question is, should they, or should people continue to wait until the specific group they fit into in their state without gaming the system is called?
It's a great question, and again, there may not be a one-size-fits-all answer here. I can tell you that in New York City and New Jersey, the tri-state area here in the East, a lot of people have been able to make appointments online and get vaccinated now. I know people at work, in my medical practice, in my personal life, so that's good news. The question you raise about, whether they should, in some cases, go ahead of someone else, that's an ethical question. That's not that easy to answer. Remember, the goal is for potentially everyone in the country to be vaccinated so that no one exposes another individual to risk. So at this point, it's a matter of just getting as many people vaccinated as possible. Yes, of course, essential workers or someone in a very high-risk group, in my medical opinion, should have priority. But at least now in the New York City area, we're getting so much more in terms of vaccine delivery that many, many more people in those lower phases are having access now, which is great.
The rules about what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do are changing so fast in so many places. People have some decisions to make, so I wanted to get the doctor's opinion on a few. In Texas, as you know, all restrictions are now gone. The Texas Rangers baseball team could see a full open-air stadium on opening day on April 5th, with it up to people to decide whether or not they want to wear masks. My question is, your advice, should I go to that opening day game? Does it matter or make a difference if I've been vaccinated?
Well, I think you bring up a really good point. And remember, I'm not in charge of Texas or any other public health organization, luckily. But I would tell you from a medical and scientific standpoint, and based on the experts with whom I'm in contact on a regular basis, look, outdoors, safer than indoors, no question. So sports like baseball are going to be safer than sports held in indoor arenas. But masks, absolutely essential. And remember, we heard just recently the CDC say 2 face coverings better than 1. So it would make me happy to see that if the Texas Rangers sell out to a full capacity crowd on their opening day. And yes, I think it does matter if someone's been vaccinated, but that also is not a green light to behave differently at this point. That doesn't mean in the future those guidelines won't change, but it does mean that right now, while we're keeping our eye on these variants and a potential 4th surge in the next couple of weeks, we really have to tread carefully on reopening like this in such a dramatic way. There are a lot of public health officials that think that lives are at risk because of that.
Finally, Dr. Ashton, Easter and Passover are now approaching. We remember all of the warnings we heard ahead of Christmas and Hanukkah, but now we've got vaccines and lower rates of transmissions and lower hospital levels. How would you make the decision for your family this year for Easter or Passover? Assume that some people are vaccinated, but the younger adults probably aren't going to be. What kind of limiting are you doing this Easter?
Well, for myself, I'm going to be with just 4 other people for those holidays and in outdoor environments to eat and share that Passover meal. But I follow the CDC science, which is that if people have been vaccinated, they can get together in home environments without masks or distancing. If some have been vaccinated and others haven't, and those people who have not been vaccinated are at low risk for severe COVID disease, they can get together in someone's home to share a meal. But in small groups, utilize ventilation, keep the windows and doors open and the fans on the HVAC on on, not auto, and try to lower risk as low as possible because, as you know, there's no such thing as zero risk.
Hopefully it is the last holiday we have to ask this about. Dr. Jen Ashton is the chief medical correspondent for ABC News. Dr. Ashton, as always, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And just breaking, there are multiple reports that President Biden tonight in his speech is going to address or direct all states to open up vaccine eligibility to all American adults by May 1st. We'll hear that from the president tonight. We'll be right back.
This is important news for people who have taken Zantac or its generic ranitidine and then suffered from cancer. Zantac and generic ranitidine have been linked to cancers such as bladder cancer and kidney cancer. According to the FDA, Zantac and ranitidine contain NDMA, a known cancer-causing agent. NDMA has been linked to cancers of the bladder, kidney, colon, esophagus, liver, ovaries, pancreas, and other cancers. If you or a loved one took Zantac or ranitidine and were then diagnosed with cancer, call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one took Zantac or generic ranitidine and were then diagnosed with bladder cancer, kidney cancer, or any of these cancers. Call now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing by.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Mary and Shirley both need oxygen. Shirley lost her freedom the day she went on oxygen, but Mary has the ultra-compact Inogen 1 G4 oxygen concentrator from Inogen. It's the smallest and lightest model we've ever made, so she'll always have the oxygen she needs anytime, anywhere. The sooner you call, the sooner you can reclaim the freedom and independence you deserve. Call now for your 30-day risk-free trial.
Call 800-683-1390. That's 800-683-1390.
There's people behind the numbers. I mean, our mom's behind that number, and it's really sad.
Mother, one of the nearly 530,000 Americans who have now died from COVID. So on this COVID anniversary night, we're going to remember many of those victims and also show you some of their final words, which in many cases had to be done via text since so many we lost in isolation as they died alone. And many of those people were not elderly. They were in the primes of their lives. That includes Audrey Ellis, a nurse in Colorado who died right after she celebrated her 29th birthday with her twin sister, Kelsey. When they got together, Audrey was feeling sick, and they brought her to an urgent care facility. As she got worse, she went to the hospital and was admitted to the ICU, where she died 3 days later. I'm going to share some of their texts, and we'll start with Kelsey. She wrote, "Please don't be scared. You are going to be okay. You are in the best hands, and they will take care of you. Everyone is praying and sending good vibes your way." Soon after, the family tried to visit, and Kelsey texted her sister again, quote, "We might not be able to come in the room, but we are here for you." A short time later, Audrey texted from her hospital room saying she was having trouble breathing, and her sister told her to call in the nurse, which brings us to the final text Audrey sent to her family. "Yes, she's coming in soon. Then I'm sleeping. Love you." That was the last time they ever heard from Audrey. Then there's Christiana and Michael Nazir of Rialto, California. Christiana found out she was pregnant while her husband was in the hospital fighting COVID. I'm going to read their heartbreaking exchange of text messages. She sent him a picture of the pregnancy tests. He asks, "What is that?" She responds, "We are having a baby. I found out a day ago." He texts back, back, Christiana, this is not a joking matter. And she writes back, you have to fight. I'm not lying. I'm getting an ultrasound today. Michael died a few days later. Their baby is due next month. We're going to wrap up this segment paying tribute to some of the others who have been killed by COVID.
He provided the soundtrack to our lives.
Never think that it would hit so close to home. You can't get no more closer to home than the queen of the house.
She just had a way of making anyone feel special and heard and loved. God, I hope that I have the capability to make someone feel the way Adeline made me feel for the last 20 years of my life.
Electricity rates are high, and power outages are happening more frequently. Now there's a solution that will help you power your home, save money, and prepare for power outages. Introducing the Power Cell, a fully integrated solar plus battery storage system from Generac, the #1 manufacturer of standby power products in the world.
The battery storage solution in combination with the solar has been one of the best investments we've ever made.
Power Cell captures and stores energy from solar panels, which can be used to power your home anytime. And during a power outage, the Power Cell will automatically send power to appliances that need it the most, allowing you to power more than just the essentials, so you can stay comfortable and safe in your home. And best of all, your electric bill goes down and you save money.
With the battery storage solution, we're saving about $450 a month.
With more than 60 years of experience building backup power solutions, it's clear why the Power Cell outshines the competition, offering more storage capacity and overall power. In fact, the Power Cell has one of the largest storage capacities on the market today, which means you can power even more. And Power Cell is customizable, allowing you to expand your solar storage capacity as your energy needs grow. The Generac Power Cell is backed by a 10-year limited warranty and supported by a 24/7 customer support team.
It was a simple installation, very neatly installed. It was done very quickly and efficiently.
Zero down financing is available with low monthly payment options. With federal tax credits and local energy rebates, you could save up to 26% off your purchase, adding to the savings you'll enjoy over time with PowerCell. Call or go online now to request a free quote. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation to buy. PowerCell is available now and ready to install. And if you act now, you'll receive PowerView, Generac's home energy monitoring system, a $300 value. Don't wait. Call or go online now. PowerCell. Savings powered by the...
8 years ago, my daughter called to say she was expecting our first grandchild, but I never heard her say it. So a few years ago, Gina bought me a nano hearing aid. And now I love hearing Ryan call me Papa. And at only $297 for a full pair, they make a great gift for someone you know. Plus, call now and order one hearing aid, and Nano will give you a second absolutely free.
Call 1-800-238-2857.
You are choosing to support a bill that is so egregious that it is nationally known as Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
The Democratic state lawmaker in Georgia is talking about the restrictive new voting measures that were just passed by the Republican-led state Senate. GOP lawmakers there trying to drastically roll back mail-in voting, reduce early voting days and hours, add new voter ID requirements, and more. All of those things disproportionately impact people of color, making it harder for them to cast ballots. This comes as we have audio of another call that then President Donald Trump made to an election official in Georgia, trying to bully them into changing votes.
I won Georgia, I know that, by a lot, and the people know it. And, something happened there. I mean, something bad happened.
I can assure you that our team and the GBI, that we're only interested in the truth and finding, finding the information that's based on the facts.
Whatever you can do, Francis, it would be, it's a great thing. It's an important thing for the country. So important. You have no idea, so important.
Well,
and I very much appreciate it.
In another call that had been previously released, you may remember Trump told a top election official in Georgia to find enough votes to give him the state, even though he lost. No wonder the Fulton County DA has launched a criminal probe of Trump's actions, with a grand jury set to convene within weeks. The voting restrictions in Georgia are part of a pattern that's happening across the country. The Brennan Center says Republican state lawmakers have introduced more than 250 bills that would roll back voting rights in 43 different states. Let's bring in our guest to discuss. Professor Paul Gronke teaches political science at Reed College. He's considered one of the nation's foremost elections experts. Professor, as we keep covering these voting restrictions, I always find myself wanting to shout a disclaimer at the very beginning that Republicans are using Donald Trump's lies about election fraud in 2020, and they are lies, as the justification for these new restrictions. They'll say, if you ask, that they can't win elections without them, but they won't admit that they're all built on that foundation of lies. I'm curious your thought on that and just how dangerous it is building election policies off lies.
Well, absolutely. Listen, it's truly stunning when you look at some of the polling data, the percentage of respondents in polls who still claim that they believe that Donald Trump won the election and that Joe Biden was not the legitimate winner. And let's put aside a moment a lot of Republican successes at lower levels in many states. So that is not the basis upon which we should be making election policies. We should be consulting the experts, the thousands of state and local officials out there who conduct elections every year, multiple elections, and they know better, frankly, than a lot of state legislators do.
So give me an idea of what these restrictions that are being debated in state legislatures would do. If you're a Democrat in Georgia or Arizona, especially a Democratic voter of color there, what additional hoops are you about to have to jump through just to vote?
Well, I'll say there's a good news story and a bad news story. So the last count of the Brennan Center is over 250 bills have been proposed nationwide to restrict voting rights. There actually have been hundreds of bills to expand voting rights as well. We're going to have to navigate through this to see which ones are successful or not. But at this point, the bills that are passing are in Republican states. The kind of changes that are being put in place, there are restrictions on the length of time for early voting. There are attempts purportedly to standardize the periods of early voting to restrict voting on Sunday, particularly in the southern part of the United States. There's been a very successful and popular what's called Souls to the Polls movement that African American churches and frankly many churches have used to encourage parishioners to go vote after the Sunday services. Then again, some restrictions on who can send in an absentee ballot. I think probably the most extreme change has been proposed in Georgia. The bill has passed. The bill has passed in Iowa as well to remove no excuse absentee voting overall. That's a very, very significant step backwards.
If these restrictions pass, do Democrats have any recourse? I mean, the federal courts are now littered with Trump appointees, and the Supreme Court seems poised to allow more restrictions. Can any of these new laws be blocked?
So I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but where we stand with the Voting Rights Act right now, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which there is a case in front of the court now looking at Section 2. The way Section 2 works is that a state is able to pass a legal or administrative change, and then it can be litigated after the change is in place if you can demonstrate disparate impact on minority groups. So there is possibilities, but you have to hold elections first, and it's much more difficult to make the case. The other thing, of course, is get out there, participate, vote, and change the control of some of these legislatures, and voice your opinion. Let local and state officials know. And look, there are Republicans who understand for decades that no excuse absentee voting, for example, has benefited Republicans. Sometimes it's really hard to understand the rhetoric right now, as you pointed out. A lot of this is mythology from 2020 and something that got inside Donald Trump's head. And sort of right now, it seems like if you're a Donald Trump soldier, you have to be marching against voting rights. Even the Republicans for a very long time, really, the party of Abraham Lincoln is all about access and rights.
Starting to hear some interesting new arguments against these laws from Democrats pushing back. One from the Georgia state legislator we heard in the setup to the interview. The other from Stacey Abrams and some others, that because the primary targets of these laws are black and brown voters, that the laws themselves are discriminatory. The hope is that they can then pressure the GOP, but also Republican donors, especially corporate donors, who aren't going to want to be associated with discriminatory policies and laws. Is that an effective way of crystallizing this issue and pushing back?
I think it can be. Look, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen on the campaign finance front. Donald Trump is claiming that the GOP's future is small donors. Mitch McConnell just the other day mentioned the success that Republicans continue to have with their traditional donor base. So if Stacey Abrams' attempt to pressure via the donor base is a very smart move here, because otherwise the legal strategy can be followed, but the legal strategy is going to be slow. We're going to have the 2022 election first, and there may be, in essence, a lot of changes because of restrictions of voting rights. So I think raising the issue of equity and access, I think, is the way to go. Look, parties should be competing on their platforms, on their policies. They shouldn't compete by keeping people away from the polling place. That's just not a good place for any political party to be.
Paul, where is the public on voting access? Is this an issue that they seem interested in and invested in? And keeping in mind, we just had record high turnout and maybe 100 million or more Americans who voted either early or by mail.
The public has liked the access and the availability and the ease of things like early voting. Look, the public has voted with their feet, if you will, or with their ballots on drop boxes, for example, something that became a big point of contention in 2020, which is very strange because they're more secure than many other methods. And there are many bills out there to try to ban the use of drop boxes. So the public is in part influenced by these claims of fraud that occurred. So I think individuals like Stacey Abrams, potentially the president, if we could hear messaging out of the White House, need to begin to counter these claims. We need validated voices on the Republican side. Governor Brian Kemp has not yet said that he supports removing no excuse absentee voting in Georgia. I think things like that can have a big impact. The public realizes, look, folks are just trying to make it harder for you to vote. Do you really want to make it harder to vote? Let's battle on policy. That's where we want these fights to occur. Let's not battle on keeping people off the field at their homes, not able to vote.
I have a few questions about H.R. 1. That's the sweeping voting access bill that was passed recently by the House. It's being sold as a remedy to most of these problems. It would protect early voting and mail-in voting and a lot more. If passed, would it, in your mind, fix the problems that state Republicans are trying to cause? Would it tilt the scale when it comes to future elections? And is there a viable Republican objection to that bill that you've heard other than this is going to make it harder for us to win?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of H.R. 1. It is a big bill, and some of us, including myself, said that maybe we should take these pieces apart. So the John Lewis Act for recently passed away. John Lewis, a hero of the civil rights movement and longtime member of U.S. Congress, but really a standard bearer for voting rights over the last 50 years. So that was really going to focus primarily on putting the teeth back into the Voting Rights Act. H.R. 1 does a lot more, but I do support most of the provisions of H.R. 1 because, as I say, I support access. We do have evidence that no excuse absentee voting, early voting does not benefit one or the other political party. Who's benefited by these are the parties that are better organized, that have good mobilization strategies. I frankly think it will help the GOP down the road because it will pressure candidates to move away from, frankly, what is a sort of white identity, white supremacy set of policies to appeal to people of color, to appeal to Latinos. I believe the GOP can appeal to those parts of the electorate, but right now they don't because their strategy is keep people away from the polling place. We want both parties competing for a heterogeneous, diverse, representative electorate. So I hope to see that happen.
And the GOP did surprisingly well on the congressional level in a record-high turnout election that they're still complaining about as we move forward. Paul Gronke, who is a professor of political science at Reed College, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us.
Remember when taking a hot bath was the best part of your day? And for some, it can be hard and even not safe just getting in. Older bathtubs can be as high as 20 inches. Let's face the facts. As we get older, our knees and backs start to hurt us. Getting in and out of an old bathtub can be difficult and even dangerous. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, a name you know and trust, as the perfect solution for you. We call it the tub to shower conversion. We'll remove your old bathtub and the need to step over a dangerously high threshold, replacing it with the safety and luxury of a low-profile walk-in shower. Advanced materials mean no more mold or mildew from an old bathroom. And all this in about a day. As a special bonus to you, you'll get a special extra safety feature for free. So please call now.
Important healthcare news. Announcing a 24/7 telehealth plan with fast access to doctors. Telemed One provides live doctor video and phone access nationwide. Visit a board-certified doctor in your state by mobile, computer, tablet, or landline. Fever? Feeling sick? You now have a doctor on call. Get diagnosed and a prescription quickly sent to your pharmacy. According to the AMA, up to 75% of doctor urgent care and ER visits can be managed by telehealth. Call now. Get protected. Everyone accepted.
If something happened to you, what would happen to them? Their home, their education, their future. You need life insurance, and chances are SelectQuote can help you get it for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop up to 10 highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates.
We found Gary, 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 800-717-7198 or go to selectquote.com now and get the insurance your family needs.
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
NFL tomorrow night, 6 p.m. I'm Andrew Whitman. Have a very happy and safe evening.
Attention.